It's difficult to connect to and send data from non-Siemens devices. Automotive, Tier 1, and pharmaceutical factories often have a diverse collection of devices from many different manufacturers. deviceWISE has many device connectors for non-Siemens PLCs, robots, CNCs, tools, etc. By leveraging our device connectors and the powerful edge logic layer, you can easily send telemetry to Siemens MindSphere. We will now show you live how to onboard with a MindSphere asset and deliver data from a Rockwell PLC and a FANUC CNC in minutes. Right now, you are looking at the Workbench, which is a client connected to the deviceWISE service that is running in the background. Today, we're going to show you how easy it is to onboard and start sending data to MindSphere using deviceWISE. Before you begin, make sure you've installed deviceWISE, the deviceWISE Workbench, and the MindSphere extension. You will also need a license to start connecting devices. This can all be obtained using the Telit portal. Let's get started. We have already created a MindConnect library asset in our MindSphere tenant. We will simply copy the onboarding key from the onboarding configuration page and paste it into the deviceWISE Workbench. We will also provide service credentials, which are obtained from GTAC. These service credentials are not required, but allow deviceWISE to automatically enumerate all of the data sources and data points in MindSphere. It is very easy to define devices in deviceWISE. Simply navigate to the device panel and click the New button. This will bring up a device definition panel where you can provide properties such as IP address and port. Once you've filled in this device definition, click Validate to ensure the device connection works. If validation is successful, save and then start the device. Now you can view the device variables in the variables panel. We'll go ahead and read a few variables and compare the read values with the expected value. deviceWISE has an edge logic layer which allows for quick pre-processing and sending of data. This logic is done in what deviceWISE calls a trigger. First, we will create a container for triggers called a project. Inside the project, we will create a trigger that will send our device's data to the asset that we onboarded to. When creating a new trigger, the trigger editor will appear. All triggers have a name, an event, and actions. The event defines when the trigger should fire. This could be on a schedule, when data changes, when receiving PLC data, or on many other event types that deviceWISE provides. In this example, we are going to use a periodic schedule of 1000 milliseconds. After the event type is selected, we will need to add action blocks to the trigger. Simply drag actions from the left panel onto the canvas and connect the action blocks in the order that the logic should flow. In this example, we're going to send time series data to MindSphere, so we simply drag the action from MindSphere time series to the canvas. Connect the start block to the top of the time series action, and then connect the bottom of the time series action to the end execution block. Now we will double click on the time series action block to define the data source and the data points to send to. We will leave the store and forward profile as none for now. This will be discussed in a future video. The input type is auto because we've provided service credentials to deviceWISE. The data sources are enumerated from the MindSphere tenant. In this example, we are going to be sending to the Rockwell data source. The input variables below are data points that belong to the selected data source. Simply map these input variables to the variables on the Rockwell PLC device that we set up earlier. Exit the action definition window and save the trigger. Finally, select the trigger we just created and click Start. The trigger should move into the started state and begin firing every 1000 milliseconds. You can see the success count increase as the trigger sends data up to MindSphere. Now let's send time series data from a FANUC CNC. First, define a FANUC CNC device in the Devices panel. Once you validated the device definition and the device is started, head back over to the project we just created. We could create another trigger, to handle the FANUC CNC, but in this example, we're going to simply add another action block to our existing trigger. Add another time series action block in between the previous time series action and the end execution block. Just like before, we will edit the new time series action to send to the FANUC CNC data source. Map the input variables to the FANUC CNC device, then save the trigger and start it up. Time series data should be sending to MindSphere successfully. Finally, navigate to the Fleet Manager on your MindSphere tenant, select the asset you've mapped your data points to, click on the aspect you'd like to view, and you will see the time series data that's being sent from deviceWISE. It's easy to do IoT with 5 things. Try doing IoT with 5,000 plus things. deviceWISE provides a device management service that can scale. deviceWISE requires no programming, allows for quick time to revenue. It has built-in connectors to industrial equipment and a built-in edge logic layer for data pre-processing. It has store and forward capabilities in case of network outages, and is available on Windows, Linux, AIX, and many more operating systems. We hope you enjoyed our demonstration. You can find more information at Telit.com.